10 billion, and we hear some dovish language. How anti-climactic will this be, do you think?
I think this is a real case of travelling and arriving, because I think you have to look back to where bond yields were before we started hearing the tapering word. It feels like it's been with us a long time, but it really hasn't. And basically, the 10-year in the US has almost risen 100 basis points. So they've already done quite a lot just by announcing this tapering. And I think that now they're arriving, they're realizing that sort of the 20 billion initial that had been talked about, the reduction in the bond sales, maybe they just don't need to do so much because markets are really expecting it. So I think, as you say, the language is going to be key, and I think they're going to want to show that they are still dovish, that this is tapering, it's not actually a change in interest rate policy. They really don't want to spook the markets, and they want to make sure that we have escape velocity in the economy.
Well, let's throw into that mix this Larry Summers announcement, and it would seem to me that we shouldn't worry too much about a sell-off in the equity markets.
Yes, I think you're right. I think the consensus is that the Fed's going to stay pretty dovish, and they're going to want to make sure that the US economy is on pretty firm footing. And I think we don't know if Obama is going to introduce another candidate into the mix, but it really is going to be about low rates for a while and just ending these extraordinary monetary conditions rather than being too hawkish. You almost makes you want to think maybe Summers just thought this whole situation was far too complicated and he's better off out of it.
All right. There's some news from the UK banking sector, of course. 75 pence, a 3% discount to yesterday's closing is what we've now got confirmed for Lloyds. Does the sale prove the UK economy is definitely on the mend, do you think?
I think it's a really encouraging sign. You know, it's very important for the government that they've got a profit, and I think it's very interesting that they only sold 6%, and there's still over another 30% to go. So they obviously feel quite confident that things are going to get better, because Lloyds is the most geared UK bank to that, and that they'll have an opportunity when their lockup expires towards the end of this year to make additional sales and additional profit. So I think it's a pretty strong endorsement from UKFI and from the Chancellor about the potential value in the UK economy.
Okay, and a word on Barclays. We've had this 180-page prospectus. Some surprises in there, to say the least, right?
I think there's something in there for everyone who wants to bash Barclays at the moment. You know, the thing with prospectuses is that they've got to put everything in there. So we're hearing that you know, the authorities are concerned about that Qatari rights placing, and there could be a £50 million fine for that. But I think the real news is this sort of documentation not being right around some personal loans, and potentially even a Barclay card being a fines. That's a bit worrying as well. But I suppose the good thing about the prospectus is that everything gets out of the open.
Yep.
Market will be able to digest it, and then they can move on to their rights.
Do you like the banks right now? Are you a buyer of the banks?
I think, you know, banks are so geared into the UK economy, and the forward-looking indicators for the UK economy are very positive, and so they're a great way of getting exposure to that story.